Hi guys, I'm Rhea and excited to be here. So what we're going to talk about is reputation marketing, and it's really a new field, and so I'm pretty excited about it, and I've been trying to tell everyone about it for months now because what a lot of people know Outspoken Media as is an SEO shop and also reputation management. But I will admit that after almost a decade of doing reputation management and SEO work, my brain started to get a little bit frustrated because there's only so much that we can do as SEOs and only so much success that we can have unless we're able to create something truly exceptional like Lisa just talked about. And in many cases, organizations are limited in their capacity to do that, or the brand doesn't really fit with the campaign. And if there's a reputation issue, that can really negatively impact the performance of outreach and link building in particular. So we were really struggling, and what we found is that a lot of our clients really just wanted to kind of push negative reputation concern under the rug and kind of forget it and just move on. But what we started to identify is that there's whole other space, and the other space is the flip side of reputation management, and that is reputation marketing. My belief is that when you have a truly exceptional reputation as a brand, that is what many of us know as brand equity, but really it goes beyond that. And so reputation marketing, to me, is what happens when all of the stars align and your reputation is so outstanding that everyone wants to talk about you, share who you are, what you do. If you have employees, they're so excited to bring new folks into the company or talk about the great benefits that you have. Shareholders are happy if your finances are performing. So let's go ahead and kind of get into some of the process that I go through with the reputation audit steps and how I think about it. So what is reputation? If we just think in a really broad context, reputation is the expectation of future behavior based on a past experience. That's really important because a lot of brands can be recognized, right? We can have an impression of a brand, but it doesn't mean that we understand the reputation of the brand unless we have had a direct experience that was either met in terms of expectation, or perhaps there was a failure in expectation, or we know someone that had an experience. So reputation implies that something experiential has happened. And I think that that's really key. And we can talk about customer experience all day, but the issue with customer experience is that's also limiting because it doesn't take into account all the other constituencies that you might have, whether that's your community, the media, your employees, your shareholders, etc. So fundamentally, reputation is an expectation. Reputation marketing is not reviews management. I know that this is what Wikipedia says, and I want to make sure that we update that at some point. So the more that we gather in terms of materials and the more presentations and talks that we give, I'm sure that that'll start to become clearer. But the way that it's written on Wikipedia right now is that reputation marketing is basically going onto Yelp and positively managing your reviews and responding to people. That is so small in terms of a tactic that does not begin to scratch the surface of this. That's like saying that content strategy is writing a blog post. That's one tactic, but it's definitely not the total sum of it. So we were trying to come up with what is the definition and what should we say. I believe that reputation marketing is the action or the business of cultivating and promoting a positive reputation. That is strategically and actively working to improve your reputation across all of these different groups, across all of the different touch points of your business. And that really starts to add up. So if we look at how to chart your reputation, a lot of us function down here. And this is in the reputation management space, where basically we are meeting shareholder expectations, or perhaps we're failing shareholder expectations, or stakeholder, sorry. And then up above, we get into the exceeding space. And again, this is where most people tend to think about reputation management and how to fix something, or we're just kind of existing. And then we throw a lot of dollars into marketing or SEO, content creation, link building, social influencer marketing, trying to force something that could come very naturally if instead we focused on our reputation and just improving who we are and what we do. When we have reputation management issues, because we're not meeting the expectations of our constituency groups, we see a loss of profit. We have a team that is less educated in terms of your employees. If you're in an agency, you might have folks that aren't trained well, processes that are lacking, et cetera. These are things that we've struggled with at times. And we've started to identify that when you invest in your team, when you train them, when you give them process, when you give them great benefits, everything starts to improve, because what you end up with is more time, and time gives you the space to innovate. It gives you a loyal customer base so that you're not always trying to chase new ones. It gives you engaged employees with less turnover. It gives you savings and the ability to reinvest, expand, grow, etc. So everything gets better when you have a great reputation. So here's just one tip on how you can grow an exceptional brand through reputation marketing. My belief is that you should start with the focus of recall. And recall is something that if you're a brand manager, you might be familiar with. For a lot of us digital marketers, it may be a new concept. And what I'm talking about here is not the recall of a product, because it is faulty, but the ability to recognize and recall information about your brand. So you've succeeded if your message can be recalled. And as a brand, we think about that in many terms. You fail to communicate if your message cannot be recalled. And this is a problem for reputation in particular. So if we think about a reputation recall and we put it in the context of a brand recall versus a reputation recall, this is how I see it playing out. A brand recall traditionally would be something like, when I mention retail stores, do you recall the names of certain brands like Walmart or Target? Or possibly Amazon, in terms of just talking about how to shop and something that's kind of disruptive and interesting. I believe that if we look at reputation recall, that is looking for the specific kind of points of value or differentiation that are really contributing factors to the positive or potentially negative reputation of the brands that are recalled. So when we discuss favorite retail stores, I might recall Walmart, but it doesn't mean it's my favorite. And if I do recall Target, what is it that I specifically recall about Target? For me in particular, I'm going to love that they have this unisex approach to how they separate toys. Children's toys don't have to be pink and blue, boy and girl. And they've had this huge campaign that ended up becoming this amazing marketing campaign and content strategy that got them a lot of attention, because they focused on something that was important to them as a value and as a point of differentiation, and that really aligned very well with their target demographic and customer base, and a lot of their employees loved it as well. So it helped their reputation grow. They're also very well known for the investment in the design community and the home goods that they have and the aesthetic of them. They also have this huge selection of organic and all-natural products. So there's starting to become a very clear reputation that Target is known for, and that's why you get a lot of memes and jokes and people that just organically talk about Target all day and link to their various products or new campaigns that come out, because they're doing a lot that makes us excited about the brand and want to engage. In the case of recall, there are a couple of other things to note. You can have an unaided reputation recall and an aided reputation recall, just like unaided brand recall and aided brand recall. What I mean here is that in the unaided sense, if you are unprompted when discussing reputable companies in your industry, will someone just automatically bring up your brand? If not, you might have some visibility issues. It might not be that you have a reputation problem, but that you just don't have enough of a reputation. And we work with a lot of clients that come to us where they just say, we need to be known. We need more visibility. We need awareness. We don't have something great about us yet. We don't even know what that is. And then in the case of aided, that is when prompted, can someone recall the actual message that you're trying to convey? So if you think that your reputation is ABC, but someone recalls XYZ, then you've got a disconnect in your reputation and what you're trying to achieve, and that's probably going to cause reputation problems and make everything more expensive, especially in the marketing sense. So making this very, very specific in terms of what you can do, you can define your reputation objectives and message. This sounds very, very obvious, but it's not. And more often than not even more often, every single client that comes to us, we have to end up working with them and focusing their message, no matter how big, whether they're a Fortune 100 or a small B2B. Everyone, we start here and realize there's room for opportunity. Here's one example of someone that is doing a great job. It's not our client because with reputation work, we have to sign a lot of NDAs. So I'm happy to discuss those in private, but we can't discuss them publicly. Not yet. We're working on some though. So this is 7th Gen, and I share them because I love them. I think they totally align with my values, and they're a great organization that's been disruptive in the sense of really opening a whole new industry of plant-based products. So I was on their website and I wanted to see, could I quickly identify their mission and their message? And I wanted to see if anyone could kind of figure out where that's sitting. There it is. It's right at the top. How many of us take our mission and put it right in the header of our website and make sure that it's visible on every single page of our site? Many of us do not. More often than not, you don't even have a clear message or mission, and it's not written out. We might find it hidden in an about page, but I love that they put it right at the very, very top. Not only do they put it at the top, they also put it in navigation. So you've got the products, and then immediately next to products, mission and action. They're going to tell you what their mission is and how they're doing it. That's fantastic. Clear, simple, prioritized. That's going to help build their brand and help them focus. The one thing that I don't like is that when I actually get into it, the navigation then becomes very cluttered. So I think there's a huge room for opportunity here. They've got a lot of campaigns, but those campaigns really lose the point of the navigation, which was to identify mission. So I think that they could change that information architecture. And then when you actually get into the content itself, there's, I think, 7 or 8 pages that are structured in this format where your eye is just going all over all the pages. It's more of like a kind of an archive isotope type layout. But finally, on that very last link that says about, you get to what their mission is. That's kind of hidden in the first paragraph. And that's where they kind of reinforce who they are and what they're about, that they formulate plant-based products that are safe in that work, and that they nurture health for the next 7 generations. And then they immediately get into leadership. I think it's going to be laid out much clearer. And when you make a great information architecture, when you support your message throughout the site, when you have a great about section and area that really explains who you are and what you're about, then it's easier for everyone else to understand as well. What does this actually look like in the sense of outreach? Well, for 7th Gen, when I looked at BuzzSumo, some of the top content that they have, I thought it was interesting that by far the most successful piece of content in the last year was how to create fall scents naturally. Well, that perfectly aligns with plant-based solutions for home and family. They're finding ways to give their audience unique, interesting content that they desire that completely aligns. So when you have a clear message and mission and objective, all of that flows into content, which is then better received by your audience. And we've been able to implement this for clients and see everything improved. We got more organic links, we got more shares. We had the paid teams telling us that they were having way more success with a lot less spend. So make sure you have that very clear. On the link side, Lisa just went through some amazing campaigns. 7th Gen had a really fun one when they launched organic tampons. And this is an all-women conference, so let's talk about tampons. Why not? I think that this is a really interesting subject, and they have this fantastic launch for feminine hygiene title, What's in Your Hoo-Ha? They're having fun with it. There's no easy way to talk about tampons, but they were able to get 74 referring domains pointing into this page, including links from Glamour, the HuffPo, Teen Vogue, great content. And it was informative content. It was fun. Maya Rudolph did a vajingle where she sang about your vagina. It was fantastic. And it was funny. There was definitely a cost in having a known celebrity be part of this campaign. And I'm sure that there was some sponsored content involved as well. But it all still stems from their mission and what they're trying to achieve. So to recap, really, we're looking to do a recall test. Can every single one of your constituency groups recall your mission? And those constituencies can be your customers, shareholders, employees, community, etc. It goes on. Everyone is going to be a little bit different in what this looks like. You can start very simply just by auditing your assets to make sure that your mission and your key messages align. We do this where we start to look at every single property and website. We identify whether it's matching, not matching, where the issues lie. And then we also start to see just generally what does that look like. And when we have cases where something is not matching, it's usually causing issues. In this one particular client case, we have a situation where their LinkedIn doesn't match their Glassdoor. description at all. And if your employees don't understand what your mission is, then how can they possibly communicate that to their clients or their customers and everyone that they have to talk to? And that becomes really, really a huge challenge. So in this case, we were able to identify that a lot of the reputation issues they were experiencing really stem from an employee base that's struggling and doesn't know why they're showing up to work and what they're doing. So start with a simple self-recall. Do you know your mission if I were to wake you up in your sleep? I had an amazing course with Paul Argenti, the grandfather of reputation, who teaches at Dartmouth. And he said, do this test where if I were to wake you in the middle of the night, could you or your employees or your customers remember why you exist, what you're trying to achieve? And if they cannot, then you have failed to communicate your message, and everything is going to be a lot harder in terms of marketing. And that's it for me.